customer success advisors like to share these meetings to those that cannot attend. As you know, Together Tuesdays is something we kicked off a little bit earlier this year, just to have a rolling webinars out there for our customers to join. Hopefully we have topics, that interest you. You don't have to attend all of them, but we would love to hear from you on any topics that you might want to see us present in the future. And so my name is Robin McCarty, and I'm here with the MessageOps team. I've been part of our Inscape development team. And so my topic today to review with you will be the Inscape's Azure cost review. So just go through who we have here to present today is myself, Client Success and Inscape Analyst. We have from our MessageOps Security Solutions team, Ariel Posada, and he'll be going over the Azure Sentinel product. And then we have Alexander, which most of you have been engaged with before as one of our MessageOps client success advisors. And we have fabulous Brooke O'Grady also on the call from the MessageOps team, and she is our coordinator of all things here at MessageOps.
I like that title. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. And so we do have 30 minutes slated for this call. We will definitely have some time for answers, question and answers. So if during any of our demonstrations you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and Alexander is going to be monitoring those raised hands for questions. And so we're going to jump right into the Inscape Azure cost review. This service is part of the Inscape platform. You'll see this, on your dashboard. Obviously, this is, key benefits. It's going to help you with your Azure costs, right? That's the purpose of this service. So you can review your costs at the subscription level, all the way down to the resource level. We're taking data that you may or may not know how to find in the Azure Cost Management Portal, and putting it together, in an easier view where you can see all of the subscriptions at once. One of the main benefits is that, yes, we are consolidating those subscription costs, where in the Azure Cost Management Portal, you have to click into each subscription individually. And in our service, you're able to export your data for future reference, and also, to manipulate it even further. So what are the requirements to use this service? You must, we wrote managed, we have to manage your subscription. What that means is you need to be buying the Azure subscription through us, right? So in our CSP model. So if you have an Azure subscription that is on a pay-as-you-go, still with Microsoft directly, you will not be able to use this service in the Inscape platform. But we can certainly guide you on, migrating that subscription under our CSP program so that you would have access to the service. So without further ado, I have going to switch my screen here so you can see a little demo. Okay, so now you should be looking at the Inscape dashboard. This should look familiar to all of our customers. This is the platform. Platform.inscape365.com is the URL. And your tiles here are all, the value-added services that we provide to our customers under our CSP program. And so today, we're focused on this Azure cost review. Okay, I'm in a demo client. I'm going to flip over. I have to get the Azure cost review set up, sorry, for another demo customer, because we don't want to, this account that I'm logged in doesn't have an Azure subscription. So just sorry for a second, let me pause and get into that customer, demo customer. Okay, so it is loading, and I'll reshare my screen. Okay, so it's loading. The service is built on an Power BI platform. So if you're using Power BI, this should look familiar. We have it set to default to the current month when you click into it. So you're seeing accumulated costs across all subscriptions from the calendar, calendar basis up until today. You can change your view, right? You can pick, let's go back, the last 3 months, right? We want to look at prior months. You can certainly go back in time to the point of time that you were sourcing the Azure subscription through us. So you should have historical data here if you're a current Azure customer. You can see we have it broken out into some sub tabs. So we have accumulated costs, the costs by resource, and you can see your resource, your service, your meter. All of this data you can then export. You could expand it into a focus mode, but if you hover over on the right-hand side, click on the 3 dots, you're able to export this data. So that'll bring it out into a CSV file that you can, save for prosperity, if you will. The cost by resources, daily costs. Now we're getting into, different types of bar charts, and you can click on any of these resources and limit what you're looking at. We also have, costs by service broken out. And again, you can change by the month. And then the invoice details is going to give you more of a summary of the different services with the date range that you've selected at the top. Now, the details here on any of these tabs, you'll see on the right-hand side, you can expand out filtering options. So if you do have multiple subscriptions, but you're only interested in a certain one, you can click in the subscription and dial it back to the one that you're specifically looking at. You would need to have access to an Azure subscription. So if you're a customer, you have maybe 10 subscriptions in your Azure environment, but you only have visibility to 3. You're going to see the 3 subscriptions that you have visibility to. Okay, so we can have more filtering that you probably can think of, but the one that most of our clients like are the tags, right? So if you're using tags on your Azure resources and you're trying to use them for cost back or chargebacks of costs, this is where you're going to be able to find those tags. And now you can filter down to maybe Visual Studio. Like if you're trying to charge back that license internally and you have it flagged with a tag, you can certainly do that and then export this data. Use that little eraser icon to get back to all tags. But we have locations. We have, based on the metering where the Azure is hosted, you can filter, reservations, etc. So this is a little unknown service for some of our clients. Again, it's called the Inscape Azure Cost Review. And we kind of have on our diagonal here all of our Azure related services. So if you are an Azure customer of ours, highly recommend you take a peek at the Azure Cost Review. Certainly Azure recommendations, and our most recent release is an Azure Anomaly, which I think we discussed in a prior Tuesday meeting. And if you need any information on Anomaly, please reach out to Alex, and he can provide you with video recording of that Together Tuesday session. So I'll pause here to see Alex. Do we have any questions?
I don't see any questions at the moment. Thanks so much, Robin, for taking the time to go through this in detail.
Very good. It's a short and sweet service. If you have an Azure environment, again, highly recommend you get into it, check it out. Any feedback, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to take feedback back to the team on ways to improve it. So with that, we have Ariel, and we are going to talk about Azure Sentinel.
Hey everyone, you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, cool. If you want to pull up that slide, Robin.
Yep, I'm just getting it back. There we go.
There we go. So I'm gonna kind of take it high level for now, and then I might just drill down a couple spots here and there, guys. Make this interactive. If there's anything that you either I confused you more than you were before, I apologize, but you could always question me. And if you also have any sort of particular interest in any of these things, again, stop me and we'll go deeper. So this particular slide that everyone's looking at here could be found on the link there. This is a Microsoft release slide, but it paints a really good picture into not just what Sentinel as a whole is, but also how it integrates into the entire security stack of Microsoft. So Azure Sentinel is one of the first what's called the native cloud SIEM solution. So it solely lives on the cloud, and the purpose behind that of why Azure finally released, because in that manner and not an on-prem version, is because they wanted to do a go-to-market strategy to utilize the horsepower that Azure brings to the table. So Sentinel sitting on a log analytical workspace, and it's sitting behind the entire horsepower that Azure has to offer. So it's a very, very fast, very, very scalable solution without you, the customer, having absolutely any sort of overhead when it comes to managing the architecture and or scaling it lateral and horizontal. If you've ever used any of the other SIEM products before, going back to ArcSight or something, that old, you notice that managing a SIEM solution it's a big undertaking. And when you deal with something like Azure Sentinel, it provides a lot of efficiencies right off the bat because they're taking on that workload of managing it for you. So it gives back to you all that time, all that resource, in order for you to concentrate on what you really need to concentrate on, which is that orchestration, that data correlation, that analytics, concentrate more time on incident response, pivoting off of data points, threat hunting. You can now get back to getting more of an ROI because you're spending less time on the engineering side and you're spending more time on the data analytics. And as a kind of foundational ground for Sentinel, it is a log aggregator. Basically what that means is it collects logs, right? That's the simplest way to kind of articulate that. But there's a lot of feature sets inside of that platform that brings Sentinel up to a different level of how you can utilize it. For example, right off the bat, Sentinel gives you UEBA, right? The user behavior analytic feature that is very famous now since they came to market. That's right off the bat built inside. You don't need additional licensing. You don't really need additional anything. These are just built into the Sentinel platform. It also brings the capability to ingest additional external threat intelligence sources. It uses standardized taxi format. Everything is normal, standardized protocols. There's nothing funky that only works in the Azure or Microsoft ecosystem. These are standardized threat intelligence communication protocols that you can use. It has built-in connectors and correlation. So you don't have to create your own. If you want to tap into your Palo Altos, if you want to tap into your Fortinet, if you want to tap into any of the external technologies that are supporting your organization, is as quickly as click on it, put in the 2-3 pieces of information that is asking you for, and just click connect. On top of that, if there is anything that's a little outside of the information in order for you to integrate, it has constant references and links and ability to help you in order for you to connect to that. So the end point of how Sentinel did their configuration from a user perspective is that is very, very intuitive to run the solution. Again, I don't know what anyone is hosting on this call here, but if you're running any of the other SIEM platforms, you know that's a constant complaint of the ease of use of a SIEM has always been a kind of sore thumb in that market. And Sentinel has kind of done a really, really good job at making sure that the overhead that you need and the level of intuitiveness to manage the platform is high, and well, low and high. So in regards from an integration perspective, right, inside the ecosystem, if you're running like an E3 plus EMS, or you have, let's say, E5 licenses, you have above the big blue line here. And if it's purple, I apologize, I'm colorblind. So right above that line, you have all of the different security stacks that Microsoft has to offer via the licensing model that you currently have. So you have your Defender for Office, you have your Defender for Endpoint, you have your Azure Identity Protection, your Defender for Identity, your Cloud App Security. So these are just the top 5, should you say, as part of needing that telemetry inside of Sentinel for you to correlate and get an alert-based detection instantly on a single pane of glass. And I know that's a lot of industry, bingo words, but I'll get a little bit into that on how Sentinel actually makes it work. Defender, just a quick reminder, Defender for Office is the new name for what used to be Office 365 ATP. Defender for Endpoint was what used to be called Defender ATP, which is the EDR solution on the endpoint. Defender for Identity is the new name for what used to be called Azure ATP. In the last, let's say, 3-ish months, Microsoft has really leaned towards consolidating their entire security stack, and they're calling it the Defender Suite, the M365 Defender Suite. So they have 4 of them, what's called Microsoft Defender. They have another 3 that's called Azure Defenders, and those Defenders are particularly only work on cloud solutions, like Defender for IoT, Defender for Azure, and Defender for SQL. Those are more on the SaaS side of the house. Take a quick second before I continue. Just, is there any questions? And I'll take silence as a good thing, I guess. All right, cool. Moving forward. Sentinel, besides being a SIEM, one of the big things that it brings to the table as well is that it's also a SOAR. So you're probably hearing that acronym in the last year a lot. Gartner has really, used that acronym to its fullest potential from a marketing perspective. So a lot of companies have blossomed and used that acronym. You have, Splunk started to use it as the integration when they bought Phantom. Demisto was purchased by Palo Alto, so on and so forth. A lot of companies have been purchasing SOAR platforms and integrating it into their SIEM. It's kind of like the next evolution of SIEM. SIEM started as a dumb database of logs. It progressed over to SIEM 2.0, which they started creating analytics and detections. And now we move into kind of the next evolution of SIEMs, which is that orchestration and automation, which is what SOAR stands for: security, orchestration, automation, and response. And this is critical because think about it. You're on a regular size SIEM, you're probably ingesting over 10 to 20 billion logs a month, easily. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's actually not that crazy, particularly when you have perimeter firewall logs going into your SIEM. So you have a lot of logs, you're doing a lot of correlations. You're using that funnel effect where you have the raw logs up top, and as you come down the funnel with the correlation, the detection, the analytics, and all that, you get to a smaller, hopefully single digit, or if not, small double-digit alerts. But then once you have the alert, right, the SIEM did what it had to do, right? And now you understand kind of like, okay, what do I do about it? You know, I have this detection right now in front of my face, and what do I do about it? The next thing you got to do is, how do you respond? Right, so you have a detection, you have all the different things that you should be doing, you have it there, but what do you do about it? What Sentinel has done is that they've integrated their Power Automate feature into Sentinel as well. So now you have the ability to script out playbooks and not only detect on an anomaly or detect on a signature or behavioral anomaly, but then you have the ability to do something about it. Because there's a saying that says, you know, protection is ideal, detection is a must, but detection without response is useless. And that's kind of the adage we're trying to present this Microsoft stack picture here, where, you know, you have up top, you have all your protections, your Defender for Office, your Defender, that's ideal, you need that. But, you know, there's no silver bullet. So these detections, some way, somehow, at one point or another, some things are going to get by, right? And it's just as you can see there on all the little circles with the dotted lines, that's just an idea of what an incident looks like, a use case, right? A phishing email happens, they open up an attachment, and then if Office doesn't protect it, doesn't catch it, it'll move on to Defender with the exploitation and the command and control. If Defender doesn't block it, it'll move on down the chain, so on and so forth. But as it moves down the stack and it's passing each prevention and moving on to the other, it's leaving a lot of artifacts, a lot of indications of compromise, which are going to be detected by Sentinel and its anomaly-based detections. So you're trying to get to fixing that IR before the end goal, which is actions and objectives. So you have the layer up top, which is your protection, the layer at the bottom, which is your detection, which is Sentinel. Sentinel will not only detect on those anomalies, but because you have the automated capabilities already built into it on the cloud, you can quickly respond to it, right? So if you see something maliciously spreading like a ransomware, you know, there's a million examples of those out. If you Google ransomware, the most latest big one was the whole Colonial Pipeline incident that happened a week or so ago. That was ransomware. It was a big deal, but all it was really ransomware. And Sentinel could help, you know, detect those anomalies and, due to the playbook execution, mitigate that before it becomes a really, really big problem in your organization. And the last thing I'll say there is that either on the rudimentary SIEM side of having those correlations and or on the more advanced side of creating those playbooks, Sentinel doesn't just give you the capabilities, it also gives you right off the bat about close to 100-ish on the playbook side, is actually a couple hundred, already correlations built in and already playbooks built in for each of the technology connections that you're going to be integrating with. So it has a really good, like I said, intuitive way of communicating between the technology side and alerting on what's happening, and as well as responding and stopping those malicious actions before they turn into something really, really critical. So I don't want to take the entire presentation. Are we good? Do we have any questions? Is there any in particular items that you want me to drill a little deeper into?
So don't be shy, but I don't see any questions. I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, we can move on to the next subject, and what we'll do is, like I talked to Robin and a couple other folks, we'll do on future sessions, I will do slightly deeper dives on the ecosystem that you see here, and we'll drill a little bit deeper in just Defender or just Sentinel. If that's something that does intrigue you, again, send us an email and we can start off with that. If you want to get deeper into the email security piece or the EDR or the Azure Identity Protection or Sentinel itself, you just want to see like a live demo, or you want to see some of the stuff that I just mentioned, you know, in action, send us an email, and on the future sessions we can incorporate that into the session itself.
Very good. And thank you so much for going through this, because it is a big thing to try and put this in a 15-minute presentation. I think you did a great job, and it has helped explain a lot of things for me myself. And yes, I'm one of those that still called it ATP. So thank you for clarifying the name change and keeping us on our toes. Microsoft, thank you.
Yeah, I can only apologize for Microsoft. They seem to like to continue changing the names every year or so. So hopefully
I know somebody in their
lesson.
marketing team says it should be changed, right? So,
Yeah.
but we're all up on that. And thank you for your help. So we have our next session will be next Tuesday, right? So actually, we are going to dive into some of the Defender products. So so we have that set for next Tuesday, and June calendar hasn't quite yet been established, but I'm sure you'll hear from Alexander and or Melissa about our June topics. And again, we have a slide here just to remind myself to ask if there's any questions. And not seeing any hands raised. We do want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, trying to keep these interactive with topics that you are interested in. So please give us your feedback, and that will help maybe shape our June calendar. We will be meeting in the next 7 days to outline topics for June. So send those over to Alex and Melissa, and we'll review them. Thank you, everybody. Alex, do you have anything to add to wrap up?
No, thank you very much, Ariel and Robin, for jumping on today and going through these two commonly asked about topics. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Melissa appreciates it as well. And everyone stay tuned on the following topics, and let us know if you have any requests, and we can make the order according to your needs. Take care, everyone.
Great. Thank you. Have a good
Thank you
rest
all.
of the day.
Thanks, guys. Great presentation. Have a great day.